Lisa Martinez stared at the alien specimen under her microscope and felt her heart racing again. The purple, crystalline structure pulsed with a strange light that made her stomach twist with worry. What if this thing was dangerous? What if she was making a mistake by studying it alone? What if Commander Kate Sullivan found out she had stayed late again without permission? The research station on Kepler 4 for to be hummed quietly around her. Most of the crew had gone to sleep hours ago, but Lisa could not stop thinking about the samples they had collected from the crashed alien pod. The crystals looked innocent enough, but something about them made her anxious in a way she could not explain. She pressed her eye closer to the microscope and adjusted the focus. The crystal seemed to shimmer and pulse like it was alive. Lisa wrote notes in her research log, but her handwriting was shaky. Her mind kept jumping from one worry to another. What if the crystal was toxic? What if breathing near it was slowly poisoning her? What if she was already contaminated and would die a horrible death unknown? To Lisa, something very small and very alien was indeed watching her. Zixtera had been dormant inside the crystal for 3 standard cycles, waiting for the perfect moment to find a new host. The mind parasite had studied the strange bipedal creatures that had found its pod. These humans seemed primitive and weak compared to the great civilizations Zixtera had conquered before. Zixtera could sense the female human's mental patterns through the crystal. The readings showed high levels of neural activity and emotional instability. Perfect. The parasite thought this one's mind is already broken and chaotic. Taking control will be rubbed her tired eyes and checked the time again. It was past midnight, but she could not bring herself to leave the lab. Her supervisor, Dr. Amanda Foster, had told her many times that she worked too hard and worried too much, but Lisa could not help it. Her brain never stopped thinking about all the things that could go wrong. She picked up the crystal to place it in the storage container, but as her bare fingers touched its surface, the purple light flared brightly. Lisa gasped and nearly dropped the specimen. A warm, tingling sensation spread up her arm and into her chest. For a moment she felt dizzy and strange, like something was moving inside her. Zixtera felt the connection establish and immediately began the infiltration process. The parasite flowed through the human's nervous system, expecting to find the simple neural pathways of a primitive creature. Instead, it crashed headfirst into a raging storm of thoughts and emotions. Lisa's mind was not the quiet, orderly space Zixtera had expected. It was like being caught in a hurricane of consciousness. Thousands of thoughts fired at once in overlapping layers. Did I lock my quarters? Will the crystal analysis be ready tomorrow? What if I forgot to back up my research files? What if the alien technology is beyond our understanding? What if we are making first contact, and I am not qualified for this responsibility? What if I mess everything up, and everyone dies? The parasite reeled from the assault of human mental activity. It had never encountered anything like this before. It could establish control. It found itself swept away by Lisa's emotional currents. Fear, anxiety, excitement, curiosity, guilt, and hope crashed over Zixtera in waves that left it stunned and disoriented. Lisa stumbled backward from the lab bench and grabbed her head with both hands. A strange voice echoed in her thoughts, speaking words she did not understand. The voice sounded angry and confused, which only made her more anxious. Great, she thought now. I am hearing voices. This is exactly what I needed. On top of everything else, Zixtera tried to assert dominance over the host's consciousness, but every attempt to take control was met with another avalanche of human thoughts. The woman's mind kept branching into dozens of scenarios and possibilities all at the same time. It was like trying to hold water in cupped hands. The parasite had conquered brilliant strategists, cold calculating scientists, and even psychic adepts from advanced civilizations, but none of them had prepared it for the sheer chaotic energy of human consciousness. Lisa's brain did not think in straight lines. It jumped from topic to topic, made connections between unrelated ideas, and somehow held multiple contradictory thoughts simultaneously. What is happening to me? Zixtera projected the thought with all its remaining strength, hoping to establish some kind of communication. Lisa Nearly fell over. Did that voice just ask her a question? She looked around the empty lab but saw no one. Maybe she was having a breakdown from too much stress and caffeine. Dr. Foster had warned her about pushing herself too hard. Think I am losing my mind, Lisa said out loud to the empty room. You are not losing your mind, Zixthera replied, though the effort of communicating through the storm of Lisa's thoughts left it exhausted. I am Zixthera of the Vorthok Collective. I have entered your consciousness to claim you as my host. Lisa sat down hard on a lab stool. Great, she thought, not only am I hearing voices, but the voices think they are aliens. This is definitely a nervous breakdown. She pressed her palms against her temples and tried to think calm thoughts, but her brain immediately started spiraling into new worries. What if someone found her talking to herself? What if she needed to be sedated? What if this was permanent brain damage from exposure to alien technologists? Zixthera pleaded. The mental noise was becoming unbearable. How do you think so many thoughts at once? How do you function with this chaos in your head? Lisa paused. This was either the most realistic hallucination ever, or something truly impossible was happening. Either way, she decided to go with it, because ignoring the voice in her head seemed like a bad idea. Have anxiety, she explained to her invisible mental passenger. My brain likes to think about everything that could go wrong. It helps me prepare for problems, but it also makes me really tired. Anxiety. Zixthera had never heard this term before. The concept of deliberately thinking about negative possibilities as a survival strategy seemed insane. Why would any creature torture itself with imaginary fears? Lisa felt a strange sensation, like someone else was rifling through her memories. Images from her childhood flashed through her mind, her parents arguing late at night, her first day at the research academy when she was sure everyone was smarter than her, the time she almost quit her doctoral program because she felt like a fraud. This is your normal mental state? Zixthera asked, in horror. These fears and worries are constant. Pretty much, Lisa admitted. I know it sounds crazy, but thinking about problems helps me solve them before they happen. It is like having a built-in disaster planning system. The parasite was beginning to understand that this human's mind was not broken at all. It was operating exactly as designed. The constant flow of thoughts and scenarios was not chaos, but an incredibly complex form of pattern recognition and threat assessment. Lisa's brain was simultaneously monitoring dozens of variables, analyzing past experiences and preparing responses to potential future problems. Zixthera had expected to find a simple control center where it could take charge. Instead, it had discovered a vast network of interconnected processes that never stopped running. The human mind was not like a computer that could be reprogrammed. It was like a living ecosystem with millions of moving parts all working together in ways the parasite could not begin to understand. Lisa stood up from the stool and walked over to the window that looked out onto the alien landscape of Kepler 44b. The twin moons cast everything in silver light, and she could see the strange plants that grew in geometric patterns across the valley. Are you really an alien? She asked her mental passenger. Yes, Zixthera replied weakly, though I am beginning to think your species is far more alien than mine. Lisa almost smiled. The voice in her head sounded exhausted and confused, which somehow made her feel better. If she was having a breakdown, at least her hallucination was polite. What did you want to do to me? She asked. I intended to take control of your mind and use your body as a vessel for my consciousness, Zixthera admitted, but your thoughts are too fast and too complex. I cannot establish dominance over this mental environment. Lisa nodded as if this made perfect sense. Well, that explains why you sound so frustrated. My brain does not really do simple or quiet. If it helps, I do not have much control over it either. Most of the time it feels like I am just along for the ride. The parasite felt something it had never experienced before, a strange warmth that seemed to come from the human's emotional centers. Lisa was not angry about the attempted mental invasion. She seemed almost sympathetic to Zixthera's predicament. This response was so unexpected that the parasite did not know how to process. "IT should probably tell someone about this," Lisa said. "But who would believe me? And what if they try to remove you?" What if that hurts both of us? What if you die, and I get blamed for killing an alien? What if this starts an interstellar war? The spiral of worry was starting again, but this time, Zixtara found it strangely comforting. The humans' concerns included the parasite's well-being, which was completely illogical, but somehow touching. No previous host had ever worried about hurting their invader. Maybe we should figure this out together, Lisa suggested. I mean, you are stuck in my head, and I am stuck with you, so we might as well try to get along. Zixtara felt the strange warm sensation again, and realized with shock that it was experiencing something the humans called empathy. The emotion was completely foreign, but not unpleasant. For the first time in its existence, the parasite considered the possibility that cooperation might be more effective than domination. Very well, Zixtara agreed, though the words felt strange in its consciousness. We will try to coexist. Lisa smiled and turned back to her research notes. She had no idea what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in years her anxiety felt manageable. Having an alien mind parasite as a roommate was definitely not normal, but somehow it felt like the beginning of something important. Outside the lab window, the alien moons continued their ancient dance across the star-filled sky. Lisa woke up the next morning with the worst headache of her life. The alien voice in her head had been quiet since she finally fell asleep around 3 in the morning, but now Zik was stirring again, and the sensation felt like someone poking her brain with tiny electric needles. Good morning, she whispered to her mental passenger, while stumbling toward the coffee maker in her small quarters. Your species requires stimulants to function properly, Zixtara observed, with what sounded like scientific curiosity. How inefficiently. Poured herself a large cup of coffee, and added extra sugar. I need caffeine to think clearly. Without it my brain feels like mud. Also, I barely slept because someone kept asking questions about human biology all night. The parasite had indeed spent most of the dark hours exploring Lisa's memories and trying to understand how human consciousness worked. Every discovery led to more confusion. The woman's mind contained contradictory beliefs, illogical, emotional attachments, and memories that seemed to change depending on her mood. It was like trying to map a city where the streets moved around when no one was looking. Jai was attempting to learn about my new environment, Zixtara explained. Your mental landscape is unlike anything in our databases. The Vorthok Collective believes human minds are simple, but your thoughts have layers within layers. Lisa nodded and took a long drink of coffee. She felt slightly guilty for finding the situation interesting. Instead of terrifying, most people would probably be screaming for help by now. But having someone to talk to, even an alien parasite, made her feel less alone. She got dressed and headed to the research lab, hoping to act normal around her colleagues. The station had about 40 people, and everyone knew everyone else. If she started acting strange, it would not take long for someone to notice. There, Amanda Foster was already in the lab reviewing data from the previous day. Amanda was in her 50s with gray hair and kind eyes that missed nothing. She had been Lisa's mentor since graduate school and knew all about Lisa's anxiety problems. You looked terrible, Amanda said, without looking up from her tablet. Did you sleep at all last night? Lisa felt her cheeks get warm. I stayed up late, working on the crystal analysis. Amanda frowned and set down her tablet. We talked about this, Lisa. You cannot solve every problem by working yourself to death. These alien artifacts will still be here tomorrow, I know, but I was making progress, and I did not want to lose momentum. Lisa lied. The truth was, she had been too busy having mental conversations with an alien parasite to do any real work. Zixtara stirred in her thoughts. The human female is concerned about you. Why does she care about your well-being? She is my friend, Lisa thought back. Friends look out for each other. The concept of friendship was another puzzle for the parasite. In Vorthok society, individuals served the collective, but personal bonds were seen as weakness. Why would this Amanda creature waste energy worrying about Lisa when it brought no strategic advantage? Jamie Chen walked into the lab, carrying a tray of plant samples. Amy was the station botanist and one of Lisa's closest friends. She had short black hair, and always wore bright-colored shirts that made her stand out against the gray walls of the station morning. "Lisa," Amy said cheerfully, "find anything interesting in those crystals?" Lisa opened her mouth to answer, but suddenly felt overwhelmed by everything she wanted to say. She wanted to tell Amy about the alien voice in her head, but also knew how crazy that would sound. She wanted to explain that first contact had already happened, but in the weirdest way possible. Instead, she just stared at her friend with her mouth hanging open. "You okay?" Amy asked, looking concerned. Lisa closed her mouth and nodded, but she could feel sweat forming on her forehead. The dual awareness of her own thoughts and Zixtera's presence was making it hard to focus on normal conversations. Gar was having its own crisis. The emotional bonds between these humans were creating feelings the Parasite had never experienced. When Lisa looked at her friend's Zixtera, felt echoes of warmth and affection that seemed to serve no logical purpose. Yet somehow these feelings made the chaotic environment of Lisa's mind feel more stable. Over the next few hours, Lisa tried to work, but kept making mistakes. She dropped a test tube, broke a datapad, and forgot to run a calibration sequence that Dr. Foster had specifically asked her to complete by lunchtime. Everyone in the lab was giving her worried looks. Rebecca Torres, the station engineer, stopped by the lab around noon. Rebecca was tall and athletic, with calloused hands and a no-nonsense attitude that Lisa had always admired. "Hey, Lisa," Rebecca said, "is your brain okay today? You seem really scattered." Lisa felt her anxiety spike. What if everyone was already talking about her? What if they thought she was having a breakdown? What if Commander Kate Sullivan decided she was unfit for duty and sent her back to Earth? "I am fine," Lisa said quickly. "Just tired." Rebecca raised an eyebrow. "You know we all care about you, right? If something is wrong, you can tell us." The kindness in Rebecca's voice hit Lisa like a physical blow. She felt tears starting to form and quickly looked away. Before anyone could see them, Zixtera experienced the emotional surge secondhand and was shocked by the intensity of human feelings. "Why are you crying?" the Parasite asked. "The other humans are offering assistance. This should reduce your stress." "It does," Lisa thought, "but sometimes kindness makes me emotional. People caring about me feels overwhelming." "In a good way," Zixtera tried to process this contradiction. How could the same stimulus cause both positive and negative reactions simultaneously? Human emotions seemed to exist in multiple states at once, like some kind of quantum phenomenon. The afternoon brought new problems. Lisa was supposed to present her preliminary findings about the alien crystals to Commander Sullivan, but she had barely looked at the data. Instead of scientific analysis, her notes were filled with fragments of conversation with Zixtera and questions about alien psychology. She sat in the conference room staring at her tablet, while Commander Sullivan waited patiently. Kate Sullivan was a former military officer, with short red hair and a reputation for being fair but demanding. She ran the research station like a tight ship and expected everyone to pull their weight. Lisa took a deep breath and began her presentation, but the words came out wrong. She mixed up technical terms, forgot important details, and kept pausing to listen to Zixtera's commentary in her head. The Parasite was trying to help by offering insights about the crystals, but its explanations involved concepts that did not translate well into human language. Energy matrices, consciousness anchors, dimensional resonance frequencies, none of it made sense in Earth scientific terms. Commander Sullivan stopped the presentation halfway through. "Lisa, are you feeling all right? You seem distracted." Lisa felt panic rising in her chest. What if the commander thought she was incompetent? What if she got fired? What if everyone found out about the alien in her head? What if this destroyed her career? What if she never got another research position? What if she had to move back in with her parents? The spiral of worry was so intense that Zixtera felt like it was being pulled into a mental whirlpool. The Parasite tried to send calming thoughts, but only made things worse by adding alien confusion to Lisa's human anxiety. "Think I need to see Dr. Foster," Lisa said finally. "Maybe. I am coming down with something." Commander Sullivan nodded. "Go get checked out. We can reschedule this presentation for tomorrow." Lisa left the conference room feeling like a complete failure. She found Dr. Foster in the medical bay, organizing supplies. Amanda took one look at Lisa's face and guided her to a private examination room. "Talk to me," Amanda said gently. "What is really going on?" Lisa sat on the examination table and tried to think of a way to explain without sounding insane. She could feel Zixthera listening carefully to every word. The parasite seemed as curious as Amanda about how Lisa would handle this situation. "I think I might be having some kind of breakdown," Lisa said finally. "I am hearing things and having trouble concentrating." Amanda pulled up a chair and sat down facing Lisa. "What kind of things are you hearing?" "Voices," Lisa admitted. "A voice that claims to be an alien." Instead of looking alarmed, Amanda just nodded thoughtfully. "Have you been sleeping? Do you feel like you are in danger? Does the voice tell you to hurt yourself or others?" "No, nothing like that," Lisa said. "The voice is actually pretty polite. It just asks a lot of questions about human behaviors." Ixora felt a strange sensation that it slowly realized was gratitude. The human doctor was taking Lisa's concerns seriously without immediately assuming she was dangerous or crazy. The parasite began to understand that human social bonds were more complex than simple biological cooperation. "Tell me more about this voice," Amanda said. "Is it constant, or does it come and go?" "Started yesterday when I was working with the alien crystal samples," Lisa said. "The voice says its name is Zixthera, and that it is some kind of mind parasite." Amanda wrote notes on her tablet, but her expression remained calm and professional. "Have you considered the possibility that this experience might be related to stress? You have been working very hard lately." Lisa nodded. "Maybe, but the voice knows things I do not know. It understands the alien technology in ways that make sense." "What kind of things?" Amanda asked. "Technical details about how the crystals work," Lisa said. "Information about alien civilizations that we have never encountered." Zixura made a decision that surprised even itself. The parasite had been planning to remain hidden and work through Lisa secretly, but watching the trust between the two human females made it want to try a different approach. "Tell her I am real," Zixthera said to Lisa. "Tell her I can prove it." Lisa hesitated. "Are you sure?" The parasite projected a sense of certainty that felt warm and reassuring. "Yes, these humans care about each other in ways my species does not understand. I think their help might be valuable." Lisa took a deep breath. "Dr. Foster, what would you say if I told you that the voice in my head might actually be real?" Amanda set down her tablet and looked directly into Lisa's eyes. "I would say that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, but I would also say that I trust you, and I want to help you figure out what is happening." For the first time since this whole experience began, Lisa felt a spark of hope. Maybe she was not going crazy. Maybe there was a way to handle this situation that did not end with her in a psychiatric facility or starting an interstellar war. "Okay," Lisa said. "I think I need to tell you everything." And settled deeper into Lisa's consciousness and prepared to reveal itself to another human. The parasite was beginning to suspect that cooperation with these strange, chaotic creatures might be far more interesting than conquest. Dr. Amanda Foster sat in stunned silence for several minutes after Lisa finished explaining everything. The story sounded impossible, but Amanda had known Lisa for years, and the young woman was not prone to elaborate delusions. Also, some of the technical details Lisa had shared about the alien crystals were far beyond her expertise. "Let me understand this correctly," Amanda said slowly. "You believe an alien mind parasite is living in your consciousness, and it wants to communicate with me directly?" Lisa nodded nervously, while Zixthera stirred anxiously in her thoughts. The parasite had never tried to communicate with multiple humans before, and was not sure how the process would work. "How would this communication happen?" Amanda asked. "I think Zixthera can speak through me," Lisa said, "like letting it borrow my voice, but I would still be aware of everything." Amanda considered this carefully. Her medical training told her that Lisa was probably experiencing a complex psychological episode brought on by stress and isolation. But her scientific curiosity wanted to explore the possibility that something genuinely unprecedented was happening. "All right," she said finally. If this entity is real, then I want to speak with it directly. But we do this safely with monitoring equipment and emergency protocols. Lisa felt relief wash through her, while Zixthera projected gratitude. The parasite had expected the human doctor to dismiss them or call for security. Instead, Amanda was approaching the situation with professional skepticism, mixed with genuine openness. Amanda set up recording equipment and medical monitors, then sat across from Lisa in the small examination room. She activated a brain activity scanner that would track any unusual neural patterns. Lisa, I want you to let your passengers speak, but if you feel uncomfortable or unsafe at any point, tell me immediately. Lisa closed her eyes and felt Zixthera moving closer to the surface of her consciousness. It was like letting someone else use her vocal cords while she listened from inside her own head. When Lisa opened her eyes again, her posture had changed slightly, and her voice carried a different tone. Dr. Foster, the alien voice said through Lisa's mouth, thank you for agreeing to this communication. I am Zixthera of the Vorthok Collective. Amanda watched the brain scanner readings spike dramatically. The neural activity patterns were unlike anything she had seen before. It was as if two separate consciousnesses were operating in the same brain simultaneously. Hello, Zixthera, Amanda said cautiously. Can you explain what happened when you entered Lisa's mind? The parasite used Lisa's voice to respond, but the word choices and sentence structure were noticeably different. I attempted standard neural infiltration protocols. Your species was classified as primitive with simple mental architecture. I expected easy conquest instead. I found a consciousness more complex than our most advanced civilizations. Manda made notes while keeping her expression neutral. What do you mean by complex? Human minds operate on multiple levels simultaneously, Zixthera explained. You process emotional data, logical analysis, creative synthesis, and threat assessment all at the same time. Most species think in linear patterns, but humans think in networks that branch and reconnect constantly. The medical readings continued to show two distinct brainwave patterns overlapping in impossible ways. Amanda had never seen anything like it. If this was a psychological break, it was the most sophisticated one in medical history. What are your intentions toward Lisa? Amanda asked. The parasite was quiet for a moment. I originally intended to use her as a vessel for my consciousness, but coexistence has proven more beneficial than conquest. Lisa's mental patterns have taught me concepts that do not exist in Vorthok cultures, such as Amanda prompted friendship, empathy, creative problem-solving, Zixthera said. The parasite seemed to be searching for words. Humans form emotional bonds that strengthen rather than weaken individuals. Your anxiety, which I initially saw as mental damage, is actually an advanced planning system that helps you prepare for multiple scenarios. Manda looked at the brain scans again. The readings suggested that both consciousness were not just coexisting, but somehow enhancing each other. Lisa's typical anxiety patterns were still present, but they appeared more organized and purposefully set. Can you hear me? Amanda asked. Isa's normal voice returned briefly. I am still here. It is like having a really knowledgeable roommate in my head. We take turns talking, but we both experience everything. The implications were staggering. If this was real, then humanity had just achieved the first successful mind meld with an alien species, but the situation was far too complex and dangerous to handle alone. Amanda made a decision that would change everything. I need to contact someone, she told them. Both of you. There is an alien psychologist named Dr. Vera Huang who works with the Etherian diplomatic mission. She specializes in interspecies mental health. If anyone can help us understand this situation, it would be her. Over the next few hours, Amanda arranged a secure communication link with Dr. Huang. The Etherian psychologist was a graceful being with translucent blue skin and large silver eyes that seemed to see everything. Her species had been studying consciousness for thousands of years and had experience with mental phenomena that humans could barely imagine. Huang listened carefully as Amanda explained the situation. Through the video link, her expression shifted from skepticism to fascination to concern. "This is unprecedented," she said, in accented but perfect English mind. "Parasites typically destroy host consciousness or create complete subjugation. What you describe sounds like true neural symbioses." "That dangerous?" Lisa asked. Dr. Huang tilted her head thoughtfully. "Unknown. Both entities appear to be adapting to coexistence, but there could be long-term effects we cannot predict. I would like to conduct some tests with your permission." The tests took place over several days. Dr. Huang guided Lisa and Zixera through mental exercises designed to map their shared consciousness. She had them practice switching controls, solve problems together, and explore their emotional responses to various scenarios. The results were remarkable. Instead of competing for dominance, the two consciousness had developed a collaborative relationship. Lisa's human creativity enhanced Zixera's logical processing, while the parasite's mental discipline helped organize Lisa's scattered thoughts. But the tests also revealed troubling information. Zixera shared memories of the Vorthok Collective, a vast alien empire that used mind parasites to control conquered populations. The collective viewed other species as resources to be harvested, not as equals to be respected. "They will come for me," Zixera admitted during one session. "My prolonged silence will trigger a retrieval mission. The collective cannot allow contamination of their agents." "What kind of contamination?" Lisa asked, learning to value individual consciousness over collective obedience. Zixera said, "Experiencing emotions like empathy and friendship, understanding that cooperation can be more effective than domination. These concepts are dangerous to collective ideology." Dr. Wong exchanged worried looks with Amanda. If the Vorthok Collective arrived with hostile intentions, the research station would be defenseless. Against advanced alien technology, 40 humans would not stand a chance. "We need to contact Colonial Defense Command," Amanda said, "but first we need to decide what we tell them." Lisa felt panic rising. What if the military tried to remove Zixera? What if they treated the parasite as a weapon instead of a person? What if they locked her up for study? What if this led to war between humans and the collectivists? Thar sensed Lisa's distress and projected calming thoughts. The parasite had grown protective of its host and was learning to care about her well-being in ways that went beyond simple survival. "I have an idea," Dr. Huang said. "What if we approached this as a psychological case study instead of a military threat? If we can demonstrate that human Vorthok mental symbiosis is beneficial rather than harmful, it might change how both species view each other." She explained her plan. Over the coming days, they would document everything about Lisa and Zixera's relationship. They would prove that cooperation between the species was possible, and perhaps even superior to the collectives methods of control. The work was intense, but exciting. Lisa found herself becoming more confident as she helped Dr. Huang understand human psychology. Meanwhile, Zixera learned about concepts like personal growth therapy and emotional healing that were completely foreign to collective thinking. During one particularly breakthrough session, Lisa was explaining her childhood anxiety to Dr. Huang when Zixera suddenly spoke up. "I understand now," the parasite said. "Through Lisa, your anxiety is not weakness. It is your mind's way of protecting you by considering all possibilities. It shows you care deeply about outcomes and want to prevent harm." Lisa felt tears in her eyes. For years she had seen her anxiety as a character flaw, something that made her weak and afraid. But Zixera saw it as a sophisticated defense mechanism that actually demonstrated strength. Dr. Huang smiled. "That is exactly right. Many humans struggle to understand their own emotional complexity, but an outside perspective can help us see our strengths more clearly." As the days passed, Lisa and Zixera grew closer. The partnership that had begun as an accident was becoming a genuine friendship. The parasite began to experience emotions like joy, humor, and even love. For the first time, while Lisa gained confidence from helping an advanced alien understand the beauty of human consciousness, but Their peaceful research was interrupted when long-range sensors detected ships approaching the system. The Vorthok Collective had found them, and they were bringing enough firepower to turn the research station into space dust. Commander Sullivan called an emergency meeting. Dr. Foster, Amanda said grimly, we need to talk about everything. Lisa looked at her friends and colleagues gathered in the conference room. People she cared about who were now in danger because of her situation. She felt Sixtera's presence in her mind, offering support and courage. Time to tell everyone the truth. The parasite said, we face this together. Lisa stood up and took a deep breath, knowing that the next few minutes would determine the fate of everyone on the station, and possibly the future. Relationship between two species. My name is Lisa Martinez, she began, and I need to tell you about my alien roommate. The conference room fell completely silent after Lisa finished explaining about Zixthora. Commander Kate Sullivan stared at her for a long moment, while the other station personnel exchanged confused and worried glances. You are telling me that first contact happened 3 days ago, in our own laboratory, Commander Sullivan said slowly, and the alien involved is currently living in your brain. Lisa nodded, while feeling Zixthera shift nervously in her consciousness. The parasite was experiencing something like stage fright, as dozens of human minds focused their attention on their shared situation. Nami, Chen raised her hand tentatively. So when you were acting weird yesterday, it was because you had an alien passenger making commentary on everything. That is exactly right, Lisa admitted. Zixthora has a lot of opinions about human behavior. Most of them involve confusion about why we do things that seem illogical. Rebecca Torres leaned forward in her chair. Can we talk to this directly? I have about 1,000 questions. Darmanda Foster spoke up. We have been conducting supervised communications with proper medical monitoring. The entity appears to be genuinely cooperative and has provided valuable information about the approaching ships. Commander Sullivan activated the main display screen showing long-range sensor data. 6 large vessels were approaching Kepler 44 to be at high speed. Their energy signatures were unlike anything in human databases, but they were clearly armed and dangerous. Officer Diana Ross, the station security chief, studied the display. Those ships are bigger than anything in our fleet. If they want to fight, we do not stand a chance. Lisa felt Zixthera stirring with urgency. The parasite wanted to speak directly to the group about the threat they were facing. Commander Sullivan, Lisa said, may I let Zixthera address everyone? The alien has information about the approaching ships that could help us gate. Sullivan looked around the room at her people. They were scientists, engineers, and researchers, not soldiers. But they were her responsibility, and she would do whatever it took to protect them. Go ahead, she said, but if this entity threatens anyone or tries to harm you, I will have Dr. Foster sedate you immediately. Lisa closed her eyes and let Zixthera come forward. When she opened them again, her posture and expression had changed. The alien consciousness was speaking through her voice, but the words were clearly not her own people. Of this research station, Zixthera said through Lisa, I am the one you call an invader, but I come to warn you of true danger. The approaching vessels belong to the Vorthok Collective, my former masters. They seek to retrieve me and eliminate all witnesses to our symbiosis. Maya Patel, the communications technician, raised her hand. How long do we have before they arrive? Approximately 18 of your hours, Zixthera replied. The collective travels at speeds your technology cannot match. They bring weapons that can destroy this entire facility in moments. The room erupted in worried voices as people began talking over each other. Some suggested evacuating immediately, while others wanted to contact Colonial Defense Command for military support. But Dr. Vera Huang, who had been participating via video link, raised her hand for attention. There might be another option, she said. I have been studying Lisa and Zixthera symbiotic relationship for several days. The psychological data suggests something remarkable. What if we can prove to the collective that cooperation between species is superior to domination? Commander Sullivan frowned. How exactly would we do that? Dr. Huang explained. Her idea: the collective believed that human minds were primitive and easily controlled, but Lisa and Zixthera had achieved something that challenged that assumption. They had created a true partnership where both consciousness benefited from cooperation. If we can demonstrate this to the collective, Dr. Huang continued, we might be able to change their understanding of human capability. They might decide that humans are worth studying rather than destroying. Mami Chen looked skeptical. You want to convince alien conquerors to become alien therapists? That seems like a long shot. Lisa felt Zixthara's response and let the parasite speak again. The entity is correct that this approach carries risk, but the alternative is certain destruction. The collective does not negotiate with species they consider inferior. Your only chance is to prove you are equals over the next few hours. The station crew worked frantically to prepare. Dr. Huang transmitted detailed files about human psychology, while Rebecca Torres and her engineering team modified the communication systems to handle Vorthok transmission protocols. Maya Patel established contact procedures that would allow multiple people to speak with the approaching fleet. Lisa spent the time in deep conversation with Zixthara. The parasite shared memories of collective society and explained the rigid hierarchy that governed Vorthok behavior. The aliens believed that consciousness was a finite resource that should be concentrated in the most capable individuals, rather than wasted on primitive beings. But our partnership proves they are wrong, Zixthara said. The combination of human creativity and Vorthok logic creates capabilities that neither species could achieve alone. Lisa nodded. She was beginning to understand that their unusual situation might represent something genuinely revolutionary in interspecies relations. Instead of conquest or submission, they had discovered cooperation. When the Vorthok ships entered the system, their presence was immediately overwhelming. The 6 massive vessels dwarfed the small research station, and their energy readings suggested technology centuries ahead of human capability. Commander Sullivan opened communication channels while the entire station crew gathered in the main conference room. Dr. Huang participated via secured video link, while Lisa sat in the center ready to facilitate communication between species. The main screen activated, showing a tall alien figure with pale gray skin and large dark eyes. High Coordinator Velanash of the collective spoke in a voice that sounded like ice cracking. Primitive humans, you harbor a contaminated agent of the collective. Surrender the entity known as Zixthara immediately, and your deaths will be swift. Lisa felt Zixthara recoil with fear at the sound of Velanash's voice. The parasite had served under the High Coordinator for centuries and knew exactly how ruthless the alien could be. Commander Sullivan stepped forward. We are willing to discuss the situation, but we will not surrender anyone without proper negotiations. Valens made a sound that might have been laughter. You misunderstand your position. Humans, you have no leverage and no value to the collective. Your species exists at our sufferance. That is where you are wrong. Dr. Huang interrupted from her video link. High Coordinator, I am Dr. Vera Huang of the Etherian diplomatic mission. I have been studying the relationship between your agent and our human colleague. The results suggest that your understanding of human consciousness is fundamentally flawed. The alien's large eyes focused on Dr. Huang with obvious suspicion. Etherian, your species has always interfered where you do not belong. What lies do you spread about the inferior human mind? Dar Huang remained calm. I spread no lies, only documented evidence. Lisa and Zixthara have achieved true neural symbiosis. Their combined consciousness demonstrates capabilities that neither species could accomplish independently. Lisa felt this was her moment. She stood up and let Zixthara come forward to address the High Coordinator. Direct Livelish, Zixthara said through Lisa's voice. I have learned things that will change your understanding of consciousness itself. These humans are not primitive. They think in ways that enhance, rather than diminish, mental capability. High Coordinator's expression darkened. You have been contaminated beyond redemption. The human infection has corrupted your neural pathways. Return to the collective immediately, for purification. Lisa felt Zixthara's determination strengthened. No, she said, speaking for both of them. I choose to remain here. I choose cooperation over domination. I choose friendship over conquista. Alien fleet powered up their weapon systems, but Dr. Huang quickly intervened. High Coordinator, before you act, consider the strategic implications. If human consciousness can enhance Vorthok mental capability, then destroying this station would eliminate a valuable resource. Valish paused the collective value deficiency above all else, and wasting useful resources went against their core programming. Prove your claims, the alien commander demanded. Show us this alleged enhancement. Lisa looked around the room at her friends and colleagues, people who had accepted her impossible situation and were now risking their lives to protect both her and Zixra. She felt a surge of love and gratitude that Zixra experienced as a revelation. Watch this, Dr. Huang said. She activated a mental recording device that would broadcast Lisa and Zixra's shared consciousness to the collective ships for the next hour. The aliens observed as Lisa and Zixra worked together to solve complex problems. The human provided creative approaches while the parasite offered logical analysis. Their collaboration produced solutions that neither could have achieved alone. But the most powerful moment came when Lisa's anxiety began building about the dangerous situation. Instead of seeing it as weakness, Zixra helped channel the worried energy into comprehensive threat assessment and contingency planning. Velanash watched in growing amazement as the human emotional response enhanced rather than hindered problem-solving capability. The collective had always viewed emotions as mental contamination, but this evidence suggested they might actually be sophisticated processing tools. This is impossible, the High Coordinator said, but his voice carried uncertainty rather than conviction. Emi Chen stood up. It is not impossible, it is just different than what you expected. Humans do not think the way you think, but that does not make us inferior, it makes us complementary. Rebecca Torres nodded. We could teach each other things that would benefit both species if you are willing to try cooperation instead of conquest. Lisa felt Zixra's hope growing. The parasite had never imagined that the collective might change their fundamental approach to other species. But the evidence was undeniable. Human consciousness offered capabilities that could enhance Vorthok society. High Coordinator Lisa said, please, give us a chance to prove that friendship between our species is possible. We are not asking you to abandon your ways only to consider that there might be better ways. Velanesh stared at them for a long moment. The future of two civilizations hung in the balance, waiting for an ancient alien mind to accept a revolutionary new possibility. High Coordinator Velanash remained silent for what felt like hours, while the crew of the research station waited for a response that would determine their fate. Lisa could feel Zixra's nervous energy mixing with her own anxiety, creating a feedback loop that somehow helped both of them stay focused. Finally, the alien commander spoke again. Your demonstration is intriguing but insufficient. The collective requires more evidence before altering protocols that have served us for millennia. Devera Wang leaned forward on her video screen. What kind of evidence would satisfy the collective? Lanash exchanged communications with the other ships in the Vorthok fleet before responding. We will conduct direct neural examination of volunteer subjects. If human consciousness can truly enhance Vorthok mental capability, we must verify this through controlled testing. Lisa felt her heart racing. What if the testing harmed her? What if other people got hurt? What if the aliens were lying and just wanted to capture more humans for experimentation? But before her anxiety could spiral completely out of control, Zixra projected calming thoughts. We face this together, the parasite said. I will not let them harm you, or your companions. Commander Kate Sullivan stepped forward. How many volunteers would you need, and what guarantees do we have for their safety? 3 human subjects, Velanash replied. Each will be paired with a Vorthok volunteer for supervised mental contact. Dr. Huang of the Etherians will monitor all procedures to ensure no permanent damage. Akrazami Chen raised her hand. I volunteer. I want to understand what Lisa has been experiencing. Rebecca Torres nodded. Me too. If this can prevent a war, then I am willing to take the risk. Dr. Amanda Foster looked around the room. I suppose I should volunteer as well. Someone with medical training should participate in case there are complications. Lisa felt a wave of gratitude toward her friends. They were willing to risk their minds to protect everyone on the station, and possibly change the relationship between two species forever. The testing took place aboard the largest Vorthok vessel under carefully controlled conditions. Dr. Wong, transported to the alien ship, to personally oversee the procedures while the rest of the station crew monitored everything through live video feeds. Lisa watched nervously as Amy was paired with a young Vorthok agent named Kethmer. The alien was smaller than Velanash, with lighter gray skin, and what appeared to be curiosity, rather than hostility in its large, dark eyes. The initial contact was jarring. Amy gasped and grabbed the sides of her chair as Kethmer's consciousness touched her mind. But instead of the overwhelming chaos that Zixthera had experienced, Amy's thoughts seemed to organize themselves around the alien presence. "This is incredible," Amy said. "With wonder, I can feel how Kethmer thinks. It is like having access to a living computer that can process information at impossible speeds." Kethmar responded through the ship's communication system. The human female's mind contains pattern recognition systems, more sophisticated than our most advanced technology. Her botanical knowledge is enhanced by intuitive understanding that our species lacks. Rebecca's pairing with Agent Tixera produced similar results. The engineer's practical problem-solving abilities combined with alien theoretical knowledge to create hybrid solutions that impressed even Velanashter. Foster's experience was perhaps the most remarkable. Her medical expertise merged with biological science, creating insights into consciousness and neural function that neither species had achieved independently. As the hours passed, it became clear that human and Vorthok minds were not just compatible, but actually complementary. Human creativity, chaos, and emotional processing enhanced alien logic, while Vorthok mental discipline and vast knowledge improved human analytical capabilities. Observed all of this with growing amazement. The High Coordinator had spent centuries believing that mental contamination weakened collective agents, but the evidence suggested that interaction with human consciousness actually created superior capabilities. Dr. Huang documented everything while maintaining constant communication with both species. "This is unprecedented," she told Velanash. "You have discovered something that could revolutionize how we understand consciousness itself." But the most significant breakthrough came when Zixthara volunteered to demonstrate its own transformation. Lisa allowed the parasite to interface directly with Velanash. For the first time since the contamination began, the High Coordinator experienced Lisa's memories through Zixthara's perspective, feeling human emotions, like friendship, love, and hope. The alien mind was unprepared for the intensity of these feelings, and for several minutes, Velanash remained completely still when contact ended. The High Coordinator looked at Lisa with something that might have been respect. "This symbiosis has taught our agent concepts that do not exist in collective consciousness. Your species experiences reality in ways we had not considered." Possibly Lisa felt Zixthera-esque pride and joy as their partnership was finally recognized by the collective, but the parasite also projected caution. The real test would be whether the aliens could change their fundamental approach to other species. Velanash consulted with the other ships again before making a pronouncement. The collective will authorize an experimental program. Selected volunteers from both species will participate in supervised psychological exchange under Etherian oversight. Dr. Huang smiled. This could be the beginning of a new era in interspecies relations. Over the following weeks, the research station was transformed into a center for xenopsychological studies. Vorthok volunteers arrived to work with human partners while Etherian specialists provided guidance and oversight. The initial results exceeded everyone's expectations. Lisa found herself becoming an expert in facilitating human-alien mental contact. Her experience with Zixthera had given her unique insights into managing the psychological challenges of cross-species consciousness sharing. She helped other humans prepare for contact while teaching Vorthok agents about human emotional complexity. Amy Chen's partnership with Kethmer led to breakthroughs in agricultural science. The combination of human intuition and alien analytical capability produced new growing techniques that could revolutionize food production on Colony. World's Rebecca Torres and Tixara developed hybrid technologies that merged human engineering creativity with Vorthok theoretical physics. Their collaborative designs promised faster-than-light communication systems that could connect civilizations across the LXCDR. Foster worked with collective medical specialists to create new treatments for psychological trauma. The merger of human empathy and alien mental discipline proved remarkably effective at healing minds damaged by conflict or isolation. But perhaps the most important development was the transformation of the Vorthok collective itself. As more agents experienced human consciousness, the rigid hierarchy began to change. Concepts like individual choice, emotional bonds, and creative expression slowly spread through their societies. Stara remained bonded with Lisa but gained increasing independence as both consciousness learned to share mental space without losing their individual identities. The parasite became an ambassador between species, helping others understand the benefits of cooperation over domination. 6 months after first contact, Lisa stood in the newly constructed Institute for Xenopsychological Studies, watching human and alien researchers work together in ways that would have been impossible before. Her anxiety was still present, but now it served as a valuable tool for threat assessment and planning rather than a source of constant worried. Huang approached, carrying a datapad with the latest research results. Lisa, these partnership studies are producing results beyond our wildest projections. The psychological integration techniques you and Zik developed are helping beings from 17 different species overcome mental trauma and enhance their natural capabilities. Lisa smiled while feeling Zik's thorough satisfaction in her mind. Who would have thought that a failed alien invasion would lead to the galaxy's first interspecies therapy program? Mamie Chen walked over with Kethmer, following behind the alien, had learned to appreciate human humor and was making what passed for a smile among their species. The best part, Amy said, is that everyone involved is getting healthier and happier. Turns out consciousness sharing is therapeutic for both partners. Commander Sullivan joined the group, carrying official documents from Colonial Command. They have approved funding for 50 more research stations like this one, she announced. The military brass finally understands that making friends is more effective than making weapons. Rebecca Torres looked up from a holographic display where she was working with Tixara on quantum communication designs. I never thought I would say this, but having an alien roommate in my brain is the best thing that ever happened to my engineering career. Dr. Foster emerged from a therapy session with a human Vorthok pair who had been struggling with integration issues. Both participants were smiling, which in Vorthok culture was a recent development, learned from human partners. The most remarkable transformation has been in trauma recovery. Dr. Foster reported human emotional support, combined with mental organization, is healing psychological wounds that we thought were permanent. Lisa walked to the main window that looked out over the alien landscape of Kepler 44 to be the view. Now included human buildings, Vorthok research domes, and ethereal meditation gardens, all working together in harmony. Satra stirred in her consciousness, projecting contentment and hope. The parasite had traveled across the galaxy expecting to find conquest, but instead discovered something far more valuable. What are you thinking about? Lisa asked, her mental companion. I am thinking about how wrong my species was about consciousness. Zixthera replied, we believed that strength came from controlling other minds, but true strength comes from connecting with them. Lisa nodded as she watched human and alien children playing together in the station's garden. The next generation would grow up thinking that mental partnership across species was normal rather than miraculous. Huang approached the window, carrying her final report. The Etherian Council has officially recognized this facility as the first successful model of interspecies psychological integration, she said. Your accidental first contact has become the template for peaceful relations across the galaxy. Lisa felt a warmth in her chest that was part human pride and part alien satisfaction. They had started with a parasite, trying to control a human mind, and ended with proof that cooperation was superior to conquest in every measurable. With a future stretched ahead, full of possibilities for healing, growth, and understanding between species that had once seen each other as threats, Lisa's anxiety was finally serving its true purpose, helping her prepare for challenges that could actually be solved, rather than disasters that existed only in her imagination. As the alien suns set over Kepler 442b, Lisa and Zixtara prepared for another day of helping others discover that the most effective therapy sometimes came from the most unexpected partnerships. The galaxy was becoming a smaller, more connected place, one consciousness at a time, and in a universe full of wonders and terrors that was perhaps the most remarkable miracle of all.